But before we get into all that, we have a trade to break down here. Jets, Titans, 2 league bottom feeders making a move there very early in the morning. What was your reaction? I was in the middle of a production meeting for something I do around campus here.
Yeah.
And my first thought was, damn, I have to alter the rundown.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not gonna
no, that
lie.
was well, at least the news happened this time before we recorded an entire episode and was like ready to post and then, was up in YouTube and whatever. But so the NFL did us a favor this time. But my first thought when I saw that the Titans and Jets made a trade was battle of mid. My second thought was, oh, hey, there's actually some movement going on. Personally, I like this trade for the Titans. Like to me, this trade is I think definitely in their favor. Obviously, Robert Saleh is getting a guy that he coached in New York, a guy that I'm sure he likes. The Titans certainly have a huge need at edge, and I think now this allows them to spend their money elsewhere in free agency, at least to a certain degree. For the Jets, this is a bit interesting to me because I don't know that Tavondre Sweat has been up to par, I guess is what I could say. Maybe a bit underwhelming. Obviously, a lot of people liked him coming out of Texas the same year as Byron Murphy. Like they were one of the best defensive tackle interior duos in the entire country. But I think so far in his NFL career, he's underwhelmed. And I understand the Jets have a big need there at defensive tackle after they traded Quinnen Williams. But to me, Patrick, like I like this trade on the Titans end more. Obviously, we can get into in a second like the player breakdowns and who's better. I know Jermaine Johnson hasn't been, Myles Garrett by any means, but I like him as a player, and I think that this is a good value trade for the Titans.
I disagree with your assessment of Tavondre Sweat
Mm,
specifically.
mm.
Since coming into the league, I think he's been really, really damn good.
He's been
I
banged
have
up
been
though a lot. No,
well that okay, fine. That part is true. When he
and
has played though, he has consistently been a very high caliber player. So let's look at it from both perspectives because you look at it and you say, yeah, for the Titans, this is a great one. This is a great move. And I see what you like from the Titans perspective. I'm going to break it down a little bit more from the Jets perspective, though. Sweat is I think, when he's on the field, he is a dominant presence out there. He's the type of interior defensive lineman that could chase down outside zone while also stuffing the A gap against inside zone. He's a really, really nice player to have on the interior of your defensive line. You mentioned they lost Quinnen Williams. They want Tavondre Sweat to come out there and step up and be kind of that Quinnen Williams presence. And I think he can definitely do that. He, when healthy, has been an exceptional interior guy. Now you talk about them losing a edge rusher and Jermaine Johnson. Johnson, very good player. I'm not doubting that at all. But he is on the last year of his deal, right? Tavondre Sweat has 2 more years on his rookie contract. So that is an advantage for the Jets in that sense. And then beyond that, I think the big thing at the number 2 pick, just looking at this draft class, I would rather try and tackle the edge position than the defensive tackle position. I really would. Arvell Reese is a guy I love. I adore Arvell Reese. Yes, I do think that Arvell is that good. I know he's not a full-time edge, but neither was Micah Parsons. When he is lined up at the edge rusher position, his film is downright flawless. It really does feel that way. He has dominant play strength. Even though he might be a little bit lighter for a full-time edge position, he is the strongest player on the field. It feels like consistently. He has the ability to work moves when he needs it. He sets the edge very well, and he could also play linebacker at a high level. I think Arvell Reese being available was a big reason they went ahead and did this, along with the advantage in terms of contract.
yeah, and we've talked about this the last several weeks how important the interior of your defensive line is, and certainly if Tavondre Sweat is healthy and on the field, you're right. He has been good. I didn't give him his proper props, and I'll also play further devil's advocate by saying the production from Jermaine Johnson in the last couple of years has not been there. Right. I am optimistic, and I'm banking on the 2023 version of Jermaine Johnson to return. 7.5 sacks. That's so far the most productive year of his career. But to me, it goes back to It's harder to get edge rushers than it is interior defensive linemen, which I know you said for the Jets it's not going to be so difficult to take Arvell Reese, which they're in a rare position where they have, the bell of the ball edge rusher that is in their wheelhouse in the draft. So obviously they won't have troubles. But, for other teams as well, it might be more difficult. I think the other thing is, you're right with the contract, and you're right with the fact that there's 2 years on Devondre Sweat's deal just compared to 1 on Jermaine Johnson's deal. But I do really appreciate when a coach leaves a place and then trades for his former players. Like, I think that there's always something to be said about the fact that Robert Saleh clearly really likes this guy. I think that he thinks that there is a lot of untapped potential still with Jermaine Johnson, because he spent time with him. He was there for the best year of his career. He was in the building with him. So I tend to trust Robert Saleh and think that he has a vision for what he wants this Titans defense to be. Now, is he going to be their only addition on the defensive line? God, I hope not. Like, that would be a disastrous offseason if he was their only addition. But as a kind of, essentially just a one for a 1-for-1 swap, two guys that neither one of them are superstars, neither one of them are bad players.
But they both
I
can
like.
be.
Yes,
They
true,
both can
true,
be. That's the
true.
important part
I
of this.
love Jermaine Johnson coming out of Florida State.
Mhm.
And maybe you could say that I'm guilty of holding on to my pre-draft evals, and maybe I am. But I still think that he could be a really, really good edge rusher in this league. And then you combine that with the other defensive additions they're going to make. He's got Jeffrey Simmons on the inside. So I think for the Titans, building out their defense this way makes sense. But by any means, I don't think that this is a bad trade by the New York Jets. The only thing bad about the Jets right now is that Aaron Glenn has fallen asleep at the combine, evidently. I don't know if you saw that video. Pretty funny. But no, this isn't a bad trade. Like, listen, is this an offseason blockbuster? Whatever? No. But this is the type of trade that is breaking news and honestly could pay significant dividends. Like, we don't think that either one of these teams are going to be playoff teams. But then again, the Patriots won 4 games back-to-back years and they played in the Super Bowl. Why? Because their interior of their defensive line was so damn good. So maybe the Jets are able to, put together a really good defense with Aaron Glenn now that they have a dominant presence on the inside. And maybe the Titans are able to turn things around now that they have Jermaine Johnson on the edge.
It goes a little bit beyond that too, though. It isn't just about this season, right? Even if neither of these teams are the Patriots, these are young players that can be landmark defenders for you. I think that that's very important to keep in mind. They both have sky high potential. It's just about which team can get more out of that particular player. Again, I think for the Jets, the big advantage here is how good of an edge rusher class this is. You are resetting the clock at that position. That's the big advantage here. Jermaine Johnson is looking for that next contract. Meanwhile, you bring in Arvell Reese, or maybe they go Ruben Bain and his T-Rex arms, or they choose to go, hopefully not David Bailey. That would be a horrendous decision if they chose to go that direction. But whatever edge rusher they choose to end up taking, they're resetting the clock in terms of the contract. And that's a very big aspect of this decision for them. That's why I like it from the Jets' perspective. But for the Titans' perspective, there's a lot to like there too. Getting a top-notch edge rusher can be difficult. I'm with you, even though it is a nice draft class at the edge position, and they have a high enough position to potentially get a Ruben Bain.
Yeah.
Again, hopefully not David Bailey.
Maybe this tells you that they're not going edge, though. Like, maybe they
now
wanted
they
to.
don't have to.
Exactly.
Then,
now it's like not a super mega need. It's like hey, we still need help, but it's not like our number one start circled underlying need. So,
and I think that's what's nice about it. It frees you up a lot in terms of your draft.
yeah.
And again, like Jermaine Johnson's a good player. Devondre Sweat is a good player.
Yeah.
Now it's a question of where do they go from here? Right?
Yeah. And
These are building blocks, and they're nice building blocks to have on both sides, right?
yeah.
I
Yeah.
like it a little bit more from the Jets' perspective, personally. I also think there is something to be said for both of these teams. When your defense isn't very good, changes need to be made. And this
Yeah.
feels a little bit like change for the sake of change.
Yeah.
For both of these teams.
I'll say another thing, and Jermaine Johnson currently right now has a $13 million club option. He counts for $13 million also against the cap next year. And if you're the Titans, like, who cares? You have $92 million in cap space. Like, you've got money to spend. You got money for days. So taking on $13 million, which is this in terms of like contract money, is basically a 1-year $13 million deal. And if are you paying $13 million a year for Jermaine Johnson? I would. if I had 92 million to spend, I probably would. So, premium draft capital, premium cap space, taking a flyer on a guy like Jermaine Johnson, I never ever will really disagree with. I think if you're going to bring in talented young players, that's pretty much always the recipe for success. So, I don't hate it.
Yeah, I agree. Now, if we switch directions now to more free agency, right, and players that might have their contracts coming up really soon,